Find your voice. Okay. Find your voice.
Does that work?
Find your voice. Find your voice. Find your voice.
I got to work on following you on those endings a little bit more, but we'll get there.
I like how when we found my voice, this lost its.
Drop your iPad.
Drop your pad.
When you play the drums right
Speaking of
now.
iPad, did you ever see that? I think it was SNL. They did the iPad before iPad was a thing.
No.
And they had, the silhouette thing.
Mm-hmm,
They had the ear pods or whatever it was back then.
Okay.
Just earbuds going down.
Oh.
So
that's ridiculous. I never
Yeah.
saw that.
It's so good, yeah.
I'll
SNL
have to
plug.
find that later and watch
Find
it.
that voice, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, episode 2.
Here we are.
Here we are. We're back.
Rock and rolling.
We took a 1-week commercial break and
Mm-hmm.
we're back in action.
Yep.
Talking music industry today. How do you find your voice as an artist, as a musician, as a writer? Or do you even know that yet?
Yeah.
So, finding our voice, finding where we fit in, what we're good at, what we're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you get started? What do you do? How do you do this? It's like endless amount of options.
It is. It can be actually kind of daunting to think about how many possibilities there are for what you could do artistically. So it's like, start with, what are you good at? And what do other people recognize as being maybe something that makes you stand out and makes you different and special?
That reminds me, when I was in 5th grade, I was known as the drummer, little drummer boy, but I wasn't a drummer yet. I'd made no decision to become a drummer at all.
You just could do it.
Yeah, well, I would drum on the backs of chairs and people were like, yeah, do that drumming thing again. Or I would, we'd get those little, those, I think it was like Dannon or whatever, the yogurt cups. And what would I do? I think I would just empty it and play on there, or stretch a balloon over with a rubber band and make like little hand drums. I was just a little drummer boy.
That's
It
so
just
funny.
was, and I would like do it.
That's so funny. My brother is a really awesome oboist, and it started because he would bite the McDonald's straws into a thing, and then he would blow on them like a double reed.
That's so crazy.
He just figured out how to do it, and he liked doing that. And then my parents were like, "That's an oboe."
Was he taking
And they
after anyone in
started-
the family at that point?
No, he was really the first woodwind player in our family. So he was definitely like, that was his part of his voice, and just naturally my parents were like, you should play the oboe, and like it suited him really well. It was kind of a cool thing.
It's crazy. So something I'm passionate about, is it's easy to like be a self-starter at something when you're passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
And what is passion, right? It's like burning inside you. You have to do it. Or when you do it, at first, when you do it, you're like, oh my God, that was so fun. I have to do it again. And then it turns into like kind of a healthy addiction type thing where you're just like, I need this.
Yeah.
I have to do this. The more I do it, the better I feel. So let's make music for every meal.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think that first addiction, healthy addiction, was drumming. I started playing piano at 2 with lessons and training and all that. Moved to voice, Northwest Boy Choir, when I was 8 for a couple years. Did the Columbia Boy Choir for a minute. And then was just, man, when I found drums, it's like, whoa, what is this? And it was so addicting. Like, I had to do it. I just had to drum always. You know, and when you're at school, you're like, get home and then and just like hitting that drum set I had in episode 1.
Yeah.
That vintage Ludwig with that same Rogers snare is the drum set I was playing. He had that set up down in the basement at our house.
Cool.
Over in Redmond by the main Microsoft campus.
Mm-hmm.
And the house we had was pretty cool. It was a 3-story house, but the basement was, what do you call it? Is it a daylight basement, or you can walk out? It's so like where the drums were, there's a brick
basement.
wall, and it was underground.
Cool.
And then as you went, walked straight away from the drum kit, there, it had 2 rooms. This was like the fire, or no fireplace. And then the next room had the sliding door. We had a couch and a fireplace, TV type thing. And you could walk out the slider glass door. That's a daylight basement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sound wasn't really an issue because we were playing into the ground.
Cool.
It was awesome. Just within the house,
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember like sitting down after school and just just chill is the best kind. Just like hearing that. My dad had these thick leather strap O-rings custom that he just made. He just cut out of leather and made these. So it was real just like
Dead.
Sick.
Cool.
I loved that. So I got to do that again with that kit. It sounds like classic, super iconic. But just going on this snare right here. Wow. Flashback. This kind of got that going on with this foam little contraption I made the other day.
It sounds good.
Yeah, there's a live feed I did in the group here, in the
Mm-hmm.
Seattle for Profit Artists group. I did a live feed last Wednesday or something, and I just deadened this kit up everywhere. I changed out the kit today, but go check it out. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so just hitting those drums, super dead. I loved it. And I just remember trying to, that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then little triplets, that whole classic thing, and then turn it the classics, and then getting into, I think at the time was probably Green Day. Dookie was huge. And just that whole thing, and like I could not get enough. Nirvana was next for me, I think, in drum learning. And
amazing.
You had to have it. I had to have it. So naturally, that's the first voice I developed. And my voice was the first voice actually. But in terms of I'm gonna do this is I have to do this thing. That was drums for me, and I couldn't get enough of it, and I got really good really fast, but always felt like I needed to improve. Still do. See, I just turned 36 yesterday. And
wow. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Congrats.
And I was 11 when I started drumming, so it's 25 years.
Wow.
Quarter century, baby. That's so cool.
Well, that's good. I've been playing the cello for 40 years. Wow. I started when I was 3.
That's so
and
awesome.
I grew up on classical. At that age, you're doing by ear stuff. You're not necessarily reading notes, right? But I did grow up in the classical and the note reading side of things. But then I also grew up with the Suzuki kind of learning by ear, which is nice too. And they're a good balance with each other. And then that allowed me to actually play when I was quite young. I could play in church because I could just tell what they're doing. And as a cello player, all you have to do is just make sure that you're. Oh, thank you, sir. Oh, thank you. Oh, well, thank you.
I want to pick up your voice, not block your voice.
Okay, that's much better. So yeah, as a cello player in church, it was a really good discipline because I could just tell what chords I was supposed to do, and I would play the bass. I would hold out the bass notes or whatever, and it's pretty easy to tell whether I was doing it right or wrong, and I learned pretty quickly how to hold down the bass. And then later in high school, I picked up the electric bass, and I was like, oh, it's the same type of sensibility. I'm already listening for that, you know. So, and then I had a lot of classical chops, which gave me some other, you know, non-bass type of ideas, and then I could kind of hear, like right now I hear in stacks of orchestrations, so like I can only play one of the ideas I'm hearing at any given time, or maybe some double stops or whatever, but I hear lots of stacks, and I, you know, just have to
hear in symphonies.
Discipline myself to just play what I can play at any given
play
point.
The one thing, not jump between ideas.
Right. It's very hard when I'm improvising sometimes with other people not to jump around to all my different ideas. I sort of have to pick a pony and just stay on that one. Dance with the one who brung you.
That's something that I've run into a lot with some artists I've been producing, where they just continually jump between right. when they're singing between all their different ideas, and they can't just grab that one melody.
Ooh, this goes back into finding your voice.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might hear lots of different possibilities and voices, and sometimes you just have to pick one. For me, with what I always try to tell my singers is like, before you get fancy and add the flourishes, like maybe that happens in chorus 3 or something.
Yeah.
You have to sell exactly what that melody is.
They need to be able to sing along.
Especially with pop music, it's for singing along with. Yeah. And if you're too fancy and you have too many little bends and flourishes, you sound cool, but like that makes you a good singer. But the thing is, if you're a really good singer, you're selling the song, not your voice. You know,
that means you have good taste.
Yeah.
Very musical. A musical singer.
And streamlining your flourishes is a good way to keep it simple and sell the song, and, you know,
pick and choose your moments.
Yeah, and a little bit of sauce goes a long way.
Oh,
like get the meat and potatoes on there, and then you can put some sauce. But if it's all sauce, it's too strong of a character, and then people are tired of you by the end of chorus 1, you know.
Yeah. You know, that's funny. One thing I've always taken note of over the years is, like, if I'm in a music store or I'm at a church or I'm somewhere where there's a drum set and a beginner player, you know, it's whoa, it's too loud, man, too loud. But then a good player sit down, play louder, but have more musical taste, musicality, better balance between the pieces on the kit.
And
they're
not
like,
too
yeah,
loud.
and they're cheering you on.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me in multiple places. I've been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
And I used it, and instead of getting down on it and like wanting to quit, I kept getting better. And so actually, I don't know if we've never played live together.
We've never performed live together except on this podcast.
There it is. Well, then you have. Yes, we have performed twice together. And what's my general demeanor when I'm playing?
Pretty happy.
Me
too.
Yeah.
Me too. Which is funny because remember I was talking about this earlier with you.
Yeah, the sad thing.
As a cellist, a lot of like singers hire me to do the sad songs or the sad. Oh, we have the sad love ballads, so now we need strings. And it's funny because that's like, it's a character that I can play with my instrument, but it isn't actually really my voice. Like I'm not. I've had so much of that kind of stuff in my musical career that I'm not as interested in telling the sad story all the time.
Choice, but you do have that
voice.
I
mean, it's a character that I can play. It's a tool that's sharp that I can do, and I enjoy doing that, but it's not what I strive for as a writer or as what my deal is, you know.
Right. And yeah, that comes back to like the whole chops thing. Like, it's good to have it so that you don't have to use it, and that you understand, you know, if you can do all this crazy stuff, it makes you understand and be able to play. Or
yes.
It's because I can do all this crazier stuff that I could do that really, really well. So for me, and I say this to everyone all the time, especially a lot this year, is that in the beginning, you learn really, really simple stuff, right? On whatever instrument. And then I'm sure you learn like short and long and vibrato.
Yeah.
Maybe early on, I'm guessing. I have no idea. But those are like fundamental skills and scales, right?
And pitch.
And pitch.
We don't have frets.
And tuning and all that good stuff. And just like anything, an athlete or a musician, artist, whatever, it all comes back. So you start really, really simple and basic, and you're not that good at it. And then you go, oh, this is easy. And then you want more. You're hungry for more new stuff. You get bored. And that's fine, because that's the passion and the hunger for more and wanting to learn and grow. That's great. But then I find that you come full circle and you're all the way back at the very most basic, but doing it really, really well. And that's the full circle I see for all pros. Whenever you're struggling at something, the way to break through is to go back to those basics and patch in those holes. Where am I lacking in these most basic fundamentals that's preventing me from doing this difficult thing?
That's hilarious, because I just had this experience where my son had a couple of his friends over who are really good players. And it was a killer bass player, and he's like all over the place. And the drummer's just fully shredding the whole time, just like a lawnmower on the drums. But he's a great drummer, right?
Yeah.
And this is a great bass player. And so after they stopped playing for a second, I came into the practice room where they were kicking it. And I was like, okay, so you guys, if you just play 1% of what you just did, you might have a hit. Like, play 1% of the amount that you were just playing. Just pick one thing and just do that one thing.
One idea.
Don't try to squeeze all of your virtuosity into
Find the voice
1 minute.
of the song.
Yeah.
Every song has a voice.
Embody the song.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you have a romantic idea of being in a band, but the part that you're playing is taking up all of the real estate, then you are not leaving any room for someone to collaborate with you, or you're not leaving any room for anyone else's voice, and that's fine if it's your solo deal, but most people,
And there's no backing tracks.
right. I mean, you need to leave. I try to leave a lot of empty space for my collaborators, because that's part of them having their voice.
The way I've heard that explained before is there's only 100% of a pie. And the deeper explanation of that I found is that you have your pie, and that 100% is relative to each section of each song, right?
Yes.
How much can this section stand? And if there's drums, how much percent of that pie are they going to take up? So the dynamic, the individual drum voice, each one of these is its own voice. And the collective can be a voice. And the individual can be a voice. So, and then zooming out, the song has its voice. It has 100% at any given time. So to be really, really selective and careful is like, what am I doing? And not everyone has to play all the time. Not everyone has to be speaking all the time.
Correct.
There's a time and place for everyone's voice. Everyone to have a voice, basically, to speak up.
Yeah. And there's a way to be heard as well. If you start off full blast, people might turn you off. Whereas if you start in with a little bit of a beckoning tone and then build to where you're going to peak at your full voice, then you're bringing your audience along with you, and you're building in the audience's patience for what you are going to bring to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just pummeling people. And
Yeah.
I think that concept, it applies not only just to like playing, but the whole thing, zooming out. What is your voice in the music industry or in the art industry? What is your voice? And when is it the right times for your voice to be heard? If you pick, Silent Bob, right? what's his name? Kevin Smith, right?
Mhm.
Not James.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith. Silent Bob, dude. What was his character? You remember what he would do?
He would not. Yeah, he would
Not
never
talk,
chime in.
And then
Yeah.
just and
Yeah.
and then at the end, blah 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 blah. It's just the wisest thing ever. And then Jay or whoever's just like,
Yeah.
whoa. You
And
pick
it
and choose
matters
your
more.
moments. Yeah, it's just boom. You pick and choose your moment. And you give them that kick, or whatever it is. It could be like one cymbal at like in a 3.5 minute song, and that's all I play as a drummer. But if I pick that perfect spot, or is it a mallet? Is it a stick? Is it my hand? Is it a finger? I mean, whatever it is, you have to really be in tune. Like, be musical, pick and choose your moments, be mature. This realization came to me in 2015. I taught about 300 students that year.
Wow.
Most of them were voice. I'd say 2/3 were voice, the other third was drums that year. And I had about at least 300 students through the door.
Wow.
And I came up with this saying that musicality is equal to musical maturity. So, and I think this is really applicable for this podcast, the topic of finding your voice and picking and choosing your moments. So the analogy that came to me right away was, okay, you're out on the road, you're driving in a car, and you're out there, okay? In actuality, and I don't want to try this at home. No one actually do this, but you could do whatever you wanted out there, right? You could drive on the right, on the left, in the middle, slow, fast. You could drive up the hill and do whatever you want. I do that with my voice all the time. That's so funny.
I
See
was
how
just
he picked
imagining-
and chose his moment? That was great.
I was imagining us in Europe somewhere, and it's definitely a European ambulance, right?
Love it. Oh, King Philippi. So you can do whatever you want out on the road. You have the ability to do anything you want out there. And that in all areas of life too. You could do whatever you wanted toward any one person, or not do anything you're supposed to do. And those are not mature actions, right? There are rules on the road, and that's to keep everyone safe and to let the thing flow. And like, there's a musical flow to traffic if you ever look at it.
If you play it right.
There's all those commercials, sometimes
speed up to merge,
everything
speed up to
just
merge, speed
comes
up
together.
To merge,
Yeah.
Speed up to merge. Speed up to merge.
It's everywhere. We could easily dig through some footage and make a song in seconds. There's a rhythm to it, right? And if you listen to it, it'll tell you what's up. Great fade. And so my point is, this whole analogy is you can do whatever you want at any given moment in time.
Yeah.
There's no limitations, but there are rules, right? And you can be as creative with your driving, as you want within those rules, those bumpers, right? So make all the choices you want within these rules. Don't make all the choices in the world. When you do that, if I just went, "Hey, Phil," that's like, why did dude just yell?
Yeah.
Or like a little kid, they don't know how to control their voice. Like when it's appropriate to yell, scream, or whisper, they're just kind of and they just no maturity, right? So when you're immature, you don't have control of when you choose to do things. You're immature. Same thing with music. It applies. You got to know when to whisper, when to yell, when to talk, when to be quiet, when to rest, and when to follow these certain rules of music, the language of music. You got to learn to understand it, and then you can follow those rules and then break those rules.
Yep.
Tastefully, musically. And so that's because of all that analogy came to me in a split second, that whole thing. that's where I realized that musicality equals musical maturity. You're going to pick and choose your moments and how to have your voice and how to express whatever it is at the right times. That's musicality. It's musical maturity.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just doing whatever you want.
And that even aligns with like the more, especially on electric bass, the more mature I am on electric bass, the less you're even going to notice me playing on the song. Because I'm playing less and less and less and less notes.
Yeah.
I don't need to prove how many notes I can play. That's not what makes me good. What makes me good is the notes I don't play. You know? And so I take a lot of pride in what I don't play. Anybody can just noodle. That's not necessarily serving the song.
Yeah. Noodling is like a good warm-up for mind, body, spirit, and everything. Then you bring it to a groove to actually like have a purpose and a point. It'd be the same thing as a baby just da 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 da. It's kind of babbling.
Right.
But you're trying to say, hey, what do you want to eat? And they're just da 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 da.
Yeah. Noodling can be music, but noodling cannot be a song. And in order to make money as a for-profit artist, you do need to think about making songs. I mean, you can make music for movies, and you could write classical, you know, concertos and things that have a lot more shredding in them and stuff, and that's cool. But pretty much what we're talking about as far as being successful in music is having songs is very, very helpful.
Yeah, well, even though to your point of the movie thing, or you know, writing scores for games, there's a huge industry.
Yeah,
if you want to make some money, make some music.
Seattle's a good town for that.
Yeah, things for video games, commercials, movies, TV, all that kind of stuff. Everything you do, you absolutely, probably even more so, or probably just the same, be very deliberate of what are you trying to create with that music. It has to sell the product, the song.
Yeah.
You're still dealing with the song. It has to make sense. It has to like convey something. And my high school band teacher said, what's the point of music? And everyone say, to communicate, you know. And
nice.
You have to be communicating something, otherwise it's not music. It's just noodling or noise. You know, why are you going? You're making people think, Brian, and you're doing something. It's not necessarily new. It's just, you know,
right.
There's nothing to it, but
thoughtless drivel.
Yeah, like the same thing in conversation. If I just started talking about whatever I wanted right now, just something random, it's like, why is dude? Where is he? What's going on? I need to be on topic. You know, finding your voice. Okay, everything we're talking about should be about finding our voice. That's being mature. It's being musical. It's staying on topic. But I'm tired, Phil. We need a little commercial break, don't we?
Do we?
We do. find your voice, Phil.
I had to turn it sad there at the end for no reason.
Right.
So. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, it's so funny because we're talking about being all deliberate and then we're just going nuts and making crazy noise and stuff. So
But it had a purpose and it was deliberate.
it was deliberate.
It
you know?
had, I mean, none of that was planned, clearly.
It wasn't planned, but it was deliberate.
Yeah. And I tried to say something with, that'd be a fun thing for the comments.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if what we were trying to say got communicated. Go ahead and leave some comments down there. Say, what was Brian trying to say when do you even remember that? Was anything we did memorable? What was Phil trying to say? What was he doing? What was he trying to convey?
I think you were trying to convey drive and energy and do it. And I was trying to convey confidence and boldness and courage and beauty, kind of.
Yeah.
Beauty in an ugly way, maybe.
Yes. Art, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the thing is, art, I heard this said that art should make you think. It should intrigue you. It should grab your attention. If you're like, whoa, what was that? If you're stopping and thinking, what was that? Then that's art.
Yeah.
If you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
Debatable. You know what I mean? But
yes. But if it doesn't make you think at all and you're just sort of like, oh, that was nice, then it's just then is it art or is it decoration?
or is it a practice session?
Yeah.
There's a time and place for everything. I'm not sure if you talked about where you began. Maybe once you found your voice, let's say cello is your main voice that you found. We have some other voices, but we'll get to that at the end.
Yeah.
Where we're at now. When you found that voice, how did you begin with it, of using your voice? Did you begin using it right away, or did you shadow some other people to learn how to do that? What was that experience like? And yeah.
I definitely can relate to sort of what you were talking about with not even realizing that you were that drummer kid until you had already been living it, right?
I had been named by others.
Yeah, right. And so I kind of realized that too at some point, because I was like, oh, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be this other career.
Classic.
Meanwhile, I'm totally, pretty decent at the cello, and then at some point, like in high school or college, or maybe right before high school, but at some point I realized oh, I should probably do this for a living. This should probably be my career, playing the cello and making music and stuff.
How old again? When was that?
Probably late junior high.
Oh, okay.
When I kind of realized
early on.
okay, this is probably a career path here.
Good. And what'd you do about that when you realized that? What'd you do?
I started, actually, that's a great question. That was about the time when my teacher challenged me to practice 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I did it. I did it for 2 years, right around that era. And that's when I gained so much more adeptitude.
The crazy thing about that sounds like a lot. That's only 20 hours a week, 28 hours a week. That's not even a full-time job.
It's not even a full-time job, but man, if you do
and
that
what
when
did
you're
you
a
get
kid,
from that? Where did you benefit?
I got so much better. I mean,
you probably benefited your entire career, right?
No, that's what put me in that place. And so then by the time I got to college, I was okay. It wasn't the best, but I sounded. That's the funny thing. I'm not the best cellist. I just sound like it.
I love it.
I'm sorry, that's such a jerky thing to say, but it's true. I mean,
just sound like it.
Other people are better
awesome.
cellists than me. It's just that I sound like I'm the best.
Yeah.
Because
Which is
that's
the thing,
what I
though.
focus on is what do I sound like?
But see, here's the thing is, how good do you sound, not what can you play?
Exactly.
That doesn't define best or good, in my
I
opinion.
know, and that's why the classical
musicality
education world kind of has it wrong
Yeah.
to some degree, because
You can do
becomes
all
this
these
sort of
things.
competition between oh, I can play that concerto faster than you. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean anything.
You look at like the singing competitions, because there's so many of them. The Voice, American Idol, X Factor, Got Talent, all that stuff. There's more. Or the Four. Have you seen the Four? That's sweet. You should check it out.
Okay.
It's Meghan Trainor, DJ Khaled,
Oh, gosh.
and Puff Daddy.
Oh, my favorite. I'm on a song with Puff Daddy, so there's that.
There you go.
On the Nas record.
So, yeah. So all of those shows, you know, they'll say every season there's at least 1 to 3 that they say, you're not the best singer on here, but man, you sell it, and you just sound like you are, basically. Like you're you're the most fun, you're the most enjoyable to listen to. You know, how well can you play the money beat? The money beat.
Yeah.
Give me that bass line. You know what it is. What is it? So,
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I want on my records. I want
but you want it to sound good.
Yes.
You don't want.
Oh,
Doesn't. It's the
what
same
a big
beat.
difference.
It's the same beat, same drummer, even same drum
Wow.
set. But, you know, refining that voice, man.
Yeah.
Why did I go there? There was a reason. Oh, it's how well you can play that thing.
Mhm.
How well, like, what you're saying, what you're conveying with what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
It's like a really good public speaker.
Mm-hmm.
They can say like 3 words and you're like, you know,
Right.
it's the
right.
way they say it and how they
Right.
put it together. You're just like, whoa, that was insane.
Or it's just like making a donut. It's like people want a Krispy Kreme donut for a reason. You know, it's not because
The original.
well, but my
glazed.
donut that I make is way better. It has caviar and shrimp and all this fancy stuff. But I don't know why no one orders that donut. It's just like because they want
They want the original
the
glazed donut.
thing. That's the product.
At a
That's
certain
what they
temperature.
want. You know, and if you can make that, then that's a good idea to make that. Don't put the caviar on the donut. That's not the right setting, you know. Or maybe do. I don't know, you know. Someone's going to start a new food truck, Caviar Donuts, and they're going to make $1 million, and then I'm going to be like, what happened?
To be on the topic of being profitable, right?
Mhm.
To doing art for profit. I think these topics are really good that we wrote down earlier. You know, first realizing your value. Where's your value at? You know, and your value's found where your passion is, when you find
Mhm.
your voice. Becoming valuable to people. Don't
Yeah.
expect people to just find you valuable where you are, you know.
Right.
Instead, refine your skill set, turn your passion and your voice into something that's of value to others. Because like we mentioned, I think we mentioned it in the first episode, simple business 101. Have a product or service that offers a solution
Mm-hmm.
for people's needs or wants. You know, be really good at it and sell it for money.
Yes.
So,
And before you get to that point, there are many times where you need to go, and if you don't have the money and you don't have the resources, your time is your resource, and you can go and invest in someone else, and you could go intern at a studio or try to collaborate with somebody or invest your time if that's the main resource that you have. And I'm not saying go give away all your time for free. I'm saying invest your time somewhere, and then what happens is that then you become indispensable in that world that now you put in all this time and energy, and now that is your resource, and you've put that in, and now all of a sudden you have a voice and you have a place, and maybe people want you to come in, and then that's a good way. Maybe you start earning money off of that thing that you've established then as being indispensable.
So yeah, by working, we've talked about this before, but by working with somebody who already has a solid, strong voice and is already trying to say it, becoming part of their team to help them develop an even stronger voice and basically bring their finish line closer is also bringing your finish line closer. You're networking, you're becoming more valuable, you're finding your voice. Just by working with somebody, collaborating, you're finding a voice because, wow, I'm a great engineer for this person. I thought I was a songwriter, or I thought I was a drummer, or I thought I was a vocalist, but wow, like, yeah, I want to do that too, but I'm a really good engineer or something, you know, or I'm a really good like roadie or like manager, you know, I'm able to like field this stuff for them and something. Yeah.
You know?
Some supporting role that helps someone realize their vision, you know, and that gets into collaborating, which we'll talk about soon. Getting out there, connecting, networking, grow your connection base, your network, by getting out there, playing shows, open mics, whatever you can get your hands on.
And also social media. If you share other artists' stuff that you're excited about, and then when it's your turn to put out your thing, some of them, maybe not all of them, but some of them are going to share your thing because now they're invested in you.
What's one big industry pro that did something like that?
Well, that Lil Nas X, you know what he did?
Yeah.
This was more dirty, but it worked really well. He started a Nicki Minaj Instagram fan site or thing, Instagram page, and he got millions of followers as a Nicki Minaj fan page.
Boom.
And then when it was time for him to put out his single, he just switched it to Lil Nas X. But it's not that much of a bait and switch because he was still giving them it's a similar enough product that he knew that people would get behind it. If he just all of a sudden started, you know, selling flashlights or something, that would be, and then people would be like, oh, unfollow, right? But since the Nicki Minaj fan club is like in a genre, it's poppy, it's this and that, and then his song worked well enough, and now boom, he's got millions of followers like that. You know,
that's perfect. See, he did those basic rules. He saw a need or a want, and he provided a solution, and then he was able to capitalize on it later. You know, that also allowed him to network, get out there and get connected. Now, obviously super connected, but what are some examples of stuff you did before, you know, people were calling you? Maybe not necessarily calling you, but what was your path? How did it go to get you to where you are now?
Well, there's so many different facets to it, but there's one example of I was in a band and we were playing an all ages show in Seattle, and we were a pretty awesome band. And then a friend of ours was friends with Nada Surf, and she brought them to the show, and then they saw the band playing, and then immediately they wanted to work with me, and then I ended up playing on their next record, and then some consecutive records after that as well.
What kind of studio
went
experience?
On tour with them and played, you know, on network TV with them, and big.
So that's huge. That's like a big opportunity. But how did you get to there? Was that just happen?
Well,
or did you do studio
I
before?
made that crazy band, that the KK band.
Had you done any studio stuff before then?
I had. I mean, I grew up in the studio
okay.
leading up to that, but that was a big investment, that band, and there was a big wow factor to it when people saw us live, and it made an impression.
It was your calling card.
That was my calling card at the time. Yeah. And it also was very much in the production and sonically, it was very much my voice. I was trying to go for like a 60s Phil Spector, but psychedelic and crazy, you know.
What did you play in that band?
Totally. I played electric cello.
Nice.
Sometimes a little horn, but and backup vocals, lots of vocals too.
Okay.
So, but I produced the records, and then we played out, and it was my baby sonically, and so I felt like that was a good example of my voice. So,
And it got you work. It got you
and
your
it got
in.
me more work later on, and got me some different ins, and then I was able to propel that into an actual paying gig.
So you
because
really did.
That band never made any money because it was too much, too many people, too many mouths to feed. So, which I learned a lot from that too. I was like, ooh, let's streamline our life.
Yes.
Let's not have 12 band members permanently, you know. Let's you know, but that's part of what created the wow. And it was like,
Yeah.
we invested in ourselves by doing that, and it created a ripple and a wow, and then was able to kind of be a good showcase for the musical sensibility and what I had to offer that no one else was doing at the time.
So you did what we're talking about. You got out there. We said, you know, make stuff. Try
stuff,
again. Do it all the time.
If it works, repeat it.
Yeah, mess up.
Keep
right.
the good ideas.
Mess up hard. The sooner you can mess up big, the better.
Yeah.
Fail big, and the sooner you do that, the better. The sooner you're going to reach your goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't mess up safe.
Yeah.
Take the big risks. That's where all the cool stuff is. You invested, you networked, right?
Yeah.
You network with those people. You put that thing together. You collaborated. Were you guys novices or pretty good at that point?
We were shredders at that point.
Okay, you were already
we
up
were
there.
already dangerous.
Sweet. But again, if you're at a point where you're just like starting out, like, I want to get into this, or I've always had this passion, but maybe my parents and everyone in school and everyone in life and TV pushed this life path, and I kind of took that pill,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm like second guessing. Maybe I should have followed this passion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at that point, maybe you're older or younger, but you're just getting started out, don't be afraid to try and network and just get out there and do, because I can tell you this, once you start on a path like fitness or health, you know, you change your diet or anything, you see big results pretty quickly. And same thing with art. You know, once you start, it's crazy. Once you start on a path, you just start meeting people and opportunities just pop up. And it's like, I didn't know I was going to meet these people, but it just happens. You get out there and you collaborate, go introduce yourself to studios, go work with other engineers, producers, and even if you're one yourself, get out there and do it.
That's actually something that you're reminding me. My wife and I call it the popsicle man. And I used to do this where when I was really young and starting out, I knew the studios in town, and I kind of knew whose cars were whose. And so if I didn't have any work or whatever, I would drive around to the different studios in town and then be like, okay, I know this guy's car. And then I would just like pop in to the studio, which you would have to, I'm not saying you should do this. This was kind of a different era. It's maybe not the greatest studio etiquette to do now, but I was very young, so maybe I could, play dumb and get away with it. But I would just show up, and I was like 20, and I would just show up to these studios.
The eager kid
like
in
the
town.
popsicle man. And then they'd be like, actually, when you hear the ice cream truck, and you're like, actually, I do want some ice cream.
Yeah.
Like, and then they'd be like, actually, we do have a sad ballad that needs cello. And I'd be like, okay, of course. And
Classic.
then I would get work.
Yeah.
And I'd get my $100 or whatever it was and go, it's like, okay.
So you mean when preparedness met opportunity, you got lucky?
When preparedness met opportunity, I got lucky. Yes.
Yeah. And it didn't just show up at your door? You mean you went out and got it?
Yeah, absolutely. I went and found the opportunity.
Created them.
Yes. I wasn't hiding away under a couch somewhere waiting for success to find me. Yeah. I'm out there.
Here's the thing. I came up with this. Maybe I did. Maybe I heard it. I'm not sure. The difference between an entrepreneur and as an artist, as a for-profit artist, you are an entrepreneur.
You have to be,
otherwise
you're
you're
not.
Dead.
Yeah.
You are the starving artist at that point. Otherwise, if you're just an artist, you have no chance. Well, unless someone finds you by getting out there.
It's rare.
Super rare.
But even then, it's like you
still have to have some business
You have to have
sense.
like a grant writer that finds you or something in order to sustain your career.
So the difference between an entrepreneur and an employee mentality, an employee seeks opportunities. They seek out opportunities. An entrepreneur creates them.
Yes.
We don't find opportunities. We create opportunities.
Yes.
That is the fundamental difference. We create opportunities. We create solutions. Solutions have value. We get money. Right? It's just the basic thing. You find a need. You go out around town and you look at something. If you're an interior designer, you go and you look at that shop and go, wow, when I come in here, you guys have a great product. It's messy. Your foam shop is just, it looks terrible. The lighting, I could do this, this, and this for you. Here's an example of some of my work. Say, let me do this for you and see what you think. You provide a solution, assign a value to it. Then all of a sudden, you're going through town and you're designing all these businesses, places, and you're making money. You know, you create a solution, you create the opportunity, have a good product to offer, and monetize. So you can't just sit around and wait for someone to discover you. Like,
yes,
there's people out there already doing this and proactively. You know, I always follow up people with a text, with a call, with an email, something to say, hey, how's it going? Where are we at with music these days? We haven't talked in like 2-3 years.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, I have a thing. Oh, great. Let's meet up and see if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
You know, or if it's not, I can try to point you to people that I know would be really good for you to work with. Or you're not quite ready yet. Why don't you do this, this, and this, and then let's talk in a month.
Or like, hey, is your record out yet? Are you putting it out? Didn't you finish this record a year ago? Like, what's going on? Like, put it out. Like,
the follow up and the follow through is huge.
And the follow through. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty good, man, for today. Yeah. Anything else you're thinking about that?
Well, the riches are in the niches. So find the part of your skill set that other people don't have and lean into that.
And again, how to find that if you haven't found it. It's what you love. Get out there, make something, make your art again and again and again. Fail big, try big, fail big, refine it. And do. Just keep doing it.
Put it out.
Yeah, do it and put it out.
Sitting on a hard drive doesn't help you know what it sounds like or looks like. It has to be
or
out.
Sitting on an easel in your room or studio.
Exactly. You need to put it out into the public eye.
Take
and
a
then
picture
you'll know
and put it
right
online.
away. Even without other people's feedback, once it's out in the public, you'll know like, okay, next time I need to master that brighter, or next time I need to not play guitar, or next time I need to not have a billion instruments in verse 1.
Yeah, even when someone comes into the studio, they just step in the room, you automatically know everything that's wrong. Instantly. It's great. Yeah. So we should talk about that in future episodes. We will about having like little private listening parties or showing your art if it's a painter or whatever, because at that point, ooh, I need to fix some things or whatever. But also get out there and connect, network, collaborate with people, beginners, people that are more advanced than you. Go learn from them. Support someone who has a really strong voice already. This is how you start. This is how you get out there and really find your voice. And stay spongy. Always be willing to learn.
Yep.
Never think that you've arrived. Be easy to work with. And you'll flourish fast.
Well, life is not a journey. Life is not a journey. There is no arrived.
No.
Life is just life. And if you keep delaying your life to think about, when my ship comes in, then I'm going to start living. Like, no.
You build your ship.
You need to learn. You need to live right now.
You build
in the
your
present.
ship through your path.
Yeah.
So get out there and connect, network. Also, please like and subscribe.
And share.
Big time.
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Yep.
What else are we on? Whatever we're on out there.
I think I have a Twitter.
Twitter. If you're feeling like this is super valuable to you, and you think it could be valuable to other people, send it out there, share it, do the thing, tag your friends, tag your wife, because they're sharing everything out here. Do all those things. Get out there, do your thing, and find your voice.
Artist for profit.
I found my voice.
I'm not a prophet.
But we're for profit. 'Cause we found our Honest for profit. Honest for profit. Count on boys. We have no choice 'cause it's honest for profit. Just keep going. Find your boys. Don't give up. Hey. Find your boys. Find your boys. When you mess up, hey, hey. Find your boys. What are we? Well, we're the honest for profit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honest for profit. Honest for profit. Whoa, 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 whoa. Honest for profit. Honest for profit. We're not profit. Well, we're not profit. But we're the artists for profit. Because artists for profits are for profit, son.
Too much fun.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
When you mess up, you just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. See my iPad fall there?